Okay, so today's episode, we're going to be analysing why I think, these are my own personal reasons, why I think the Conservatives beat Labour Party in the latest election. Alright, so the analysis of the Labour Party, or at least of people who vote Labour, like they seem like they've got no idea why they lost. So I'm trying to help them out a bit here. Uh, I don't think that it'll make any impact. So I think I'm perfectly safe as a conservative to tell them where they went wrong. Their analysis is the newspapers didn't support us. And I read a comment today, like they were blaming the Sun, like one single newspaper, for throwing the entire election, which is just so naive, I think. And here's what I think. I think I followed this election like a hawk. Like everything that the Labour Party said and did, I knew exactly what they were saying and doing. And their policies were to tax loads and spend loads. But they didn't really give us anything more than that. Like they were just, we're going to spend loads more money on police. We're going to spend loads more money on hospitals. Now, when it comes to the Conservative Party, they didn't say we're going to just spend loads of money. They said we're going to have 30,000 new nurses. Okay, if you vote for us, you're going to get 30,000 new nurses. If you vote for us, you're going to get 20,000 police. You're going to get 40 new hospitals. How many hospitals if you go out on the street and ask any Labour supporter, how many hospitals were Labour going to build? They would just say, I do not know, I don't know. If you said to them, how many more nurses are you going to hire? They'd say, I don't know, lots. More than the Conservatives? Many, perhaps? How many more police officers are you going to have? I don't know. A lot more than the Conservatives, I hope, but Labour didn't commit to any increased improvements, and they wanted to nationalise the train service, which was going to cost billions. And they didn't even say, look, this means the trains are going to run on time, they're going to be faster, we're going to have like better rails, there's more investment, that means there's more train stations, we're going to have like 50,000 new train stations. They didn't even bother saying something like that. All they said was, we're going to take huge sums of money and transfer ownership of the trains so that they were owned by one group of people, but now they'll be owned by the government. And it's like, why am I supposed to vote for that? What is that going to give me? Is that going to make the trains run faster? Give me something to work with here. But they just didn't bother at all. So unknown number of new nurses, unknown number of new police, unknown number of new hospitals. But if you go and ask any Conservative voter, they'll tell you we're getting 50,000 new nurses. That means retaining 20,000 and 30,000 new ones will be higher. We're going to get 20,000 new police officers. We're going to get 40 new hospitals. And they all knew those numbers. Even the Labour voters knew those numbers. But if you ask anybody what the numbers for Labour are, they just got no idea. And on a lighter note, every election there's a couple of joke candidates that run against the Prime Minister. So they're trying to beat probably the safest seat in the UK, the hardest one to win. And you get these joke candidates called Lord Buckethead, and there's Count Binface, and there's a guy called Elmo, and they run against the Prime Minister. They usually get about 20 or 30 or like 100 votes between them, but not many votes. And one of them, like I think it was Count Binface, he actually bothered to make like an advertisement to try and get votes, and he was promising 20,001 police officers. So he was outdoing the Conservatives. He was giving exactly one police officer more, and his policy on the NHS was £1 trillion a week for the NHS because people really like the NHS. They want to see it funded, and he just chose the biggest number he could possibly think of. Like that would literally bankrupt the country. Like even the UK, fifth biggest economy in the world, could not afford £1 trillion a week for the NHS. It would it would ruin us completely. So those were some of the policies of Count Binface. But at least Count Binface had 20,001 police officers. Like with Jeremy Corbyn, it's like all those numbers are just unknown, and I think that's one of the reasons why Jeremy lost. Not just because the newspapers told you to vote for Boris, which sadly it seems to be Labour's analysis of why they didn't win, which I think is totally wrong.